You're listening to Sleepovers, a podcast brought to you by Novotel. I'm Lauren, a mum, a business owner, and travel and lifestyle content creator. Join me here in this Novotel today, where we're surrounded by fluffy blankets, lit candles, and really good friends to have a really good chat with. It's a new year, which brings new beginnings, new fresh starts, new challenges, and possibly some New Year's resolutions. Along with that, there's a lot of social challenges as well. It can feel quite heavy at times, and I'm looking forward to chatting through a few of those topics today with fellow mum and content creator Lauren McDermott. Well, Lauren, it's the start of a new year. Very exciting, but also there's a lot of pressure that comes along with that. How do you handle all the pressures of New Year's resolutions and new beginnings?
So I am a big fan of January. Do you like January?
I actually love January, but I feel like I'm one of the very few.
Yeah, it gets a lot of negative press, I think. And actually for years, I remember just thinking it was like the dark, the excitement of Christmas is over. It's the darkest month of the year. There's not really very much happening. And it felt like it went on and on and on. I just used to think, I can't wait for spring, can't wait for summer. But definitely in the last few years, I feel like I've learned to appreciate January and actually crave it, like towards the end of December, which can be so busy for so many people, especially mums, I think. We have so much to do in December that I find myself towards the end of the month being like, oh, I'm really looking forward to getting a rest in January. I'm really looking forward to being able to listen to my body a little bit more in January.
Craving a reset.
Yeah,
I'm the same.
Exactly. Craving a reset. And I think you don't have that at Christmas. You want to do all of the things, be all of the places. The school calendar is so busy.
Yeah. Give so much of your time to so many other projects, and maybe January's a time to bring it back and focus on yourself again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely. I think nothing in nature is full on all through the year. So many animals hibernate during the winter, and I feel like that is what we should do. We should lean into that. So I try to ignore all of that.
Yeah, because
stuff about new year, new me, and it's more like a time to go inwards.
Go inwards and slowly as well, because there's so much pressure with exercising, diets, wellness, starting new routines, when actually maybe the growth needs to be within and take it a little bit slower.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think, it's for some people, perhaps that's what they really love about January. They love that whole, the pressure, the kind of the goal setting, and they're raring to go. But I think for me, it's lovely to be able to reflect on the year gone by and think about all the things that we want to do this year, but in a much sort of softer, less high pressure way.
Yeah.
Because I also really want to read all of those books that I didn't read at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And I want to organize my wardrobe and make some plans for the year ahead. Yeah.
And is there a specific routine that you like to go back to in January to really get yourself grounded back into that again?
So
as a working mum, because I know it's a real juggle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the good thing about January is that there's not a huge amount of going on. There's not a huge social expectation in January. So I suddenly find myself over the Christmas period, there seems to be no time. We all say the same thing to each other. I think we're like, there's not enough hours in the day. Yeah. Where does the time go? Yeah. But it doesn't feel like that so much in January. So it's a really good time to, I suppose, look at how you feel. When do you feel most productive? I've learned that I'm really not a morning person. So I'm seeing so many people at the moment saying that they're waking up at 6 a.m. and doing a workout before
their kids wake up.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, what a woman. That's amazing. But that isn't me.
Yeah.
So I think in the morning I take a little while to come round. I really like having a bit of daylight in the morning and then having a nice cup of coffee. It's not the time that I'm most productive, but I do think once the boys are off at school, that kind of 3 or 4 hours of the day is when I'm at my best, especially at this time of year when actually the weather can be really beautiful in the winter. It's so, you know, like clear blue skies and that kind of crisp, refreshing air. It feels like it's exactly what you need. But then by the time the evening comes around, it's already dark when they get home from school and clubs and things like that. I think that's a good time to kind of settle in and relax a little bit more than we were able to do for the other part of the year.
Yeah. I suppose as well, balancing a professional and a personal life. How do you find the balance between the two? I know you do like to do a lot of planning, writing down as well, don't you? But like, how do you balance the two and juggle them together to make sure that you give your best to both?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I don't know that I've ever achieved a balance despite my best efforts. I don't know if it is truly possible for like a working mum to feel like everything is in balance, because especially being a mum, there is always this pull to home and to all of the things that you want to be able to do. But same if you have, you know, you like have all of your amazing businesses and all of these things that you want to achieve there, something's got to give. Like you can't give 100% to everything because there's not enough to go around. So I think understanding that and accepting that and knowing that
things change.
Like you
can diary out a morning and say that you're going to do something, but a kid's sick and everything goes completely out the window, and you have to be flexible with that, don't you?
And that's okay. That's actually great. You know, you do your best and you gave all that you could in that instance. And I think more so than finding balance and like complete organization, for me, it's been accepting that I can only do my best. Do you have that? I bet.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I think I do push myself quite a lot and have to sort of bring myself down sometimes. And actually, my husband's quite good at doing that for me in terms of telling me to switch off and let things be.
Yes.
And in that sense, we're a really good balance between each other.
Yes.
But yeah, I think balance is definitely one of the things that I really do like to try and prioritize. And traveling is actually one thing that I find balances me, just to take that time away from the home as a family together really does help me switch off and really help my personal and family time for me. But I know everyone is so different. I don't write things down like you do. I know you like to diary out your planning, and I've tried so many times and I just can't work that way.
So how do you have it all in your phone?
All in my head.
In your head?
Worse,
oh my gosh, you're like Colin.
Worse.
That's amazing.
Or my iPhone notes app is, sometimes I try and write things down, but if you were to look at it now, it would make absolutely no sense. It's absolutely chaotic in there. But
it works for you.
It works for me. And I think we're all different.
Yeah, that's
But I
amazing.
do always try every year, for my thing is to try and be a bit more planned and a bit more orientated. I never quite get there, but it is one of my always to-do lists for the new year.
To like be more organised.
Yes.
Yeah, you seem so organised, so you're doing really well.
It's like one of those swans above water that looks like it, but underneath there's like a lot going on and my head's always spinning. But I have to say that's just something that I thrive on. I love I love the busyness, and I love to be busy as well.
Yes, yeah, that's so good. That's so interesting. Yeah, so my husband, Colin, is exactly like you. He doesn't write anything down. And I say things to him and I'm like, are you going to need to write this down? You know, like all of the things that we have to do. He doesn't need to do that. He finds it so much better to just have it in his head. And lots of my friends do everything on their phones and laptops. Like everything is digital. But I have learned, for me, it has to be like pen to paper. It's just what works. I don't know. There's something about writing it that makes it go in. I feel like, and also the kind of physical, like crossing off of things on a list.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yes. And you've done that line.
Yeah, that
lovely.
big black line. Like I achieved that and I achieved that. And even if I don't think, you know, will we ever achieve everything on our list? We have lots of things on that list. It's still that like sense of satisfaction when you cross it off. I even write down things that I've already done so that I can cross it off.
That's cheating, Lauren.
That's cheating. It still makes me feel good seeing all those crosses.
Do you know one of my worst habits, Lauren? Sending emails to myself. So if you went into my inbox, there's like erratic emails, maybe just one word. And I actually write it to myself while doing something else, then look back on it and think, what does that even mean? So what's your recommendations if I was to try and be a bit more organized?
I do that too.
Okay, great. I'm in good company.
Yeah. I actually have a friend who is so organized. She's incredible. And she picked up my phone the other day. We were having breakfast and she picked up my phone with all of the notifications. And she was like, oh, this is giving me anxiety just looking at my phone full of all these things. But I can switch off to stuff like that. That doesn't bother me so much. But definitely things that help me. Sounds like you've actually got it nailed anyway, just with it all being in your head. But the things that, if somebody is feeling a little bit frazzled, the things that I find really helpful are to do a weekly to-do list. So to write down all of the things that have to be achieved that week. If you can, I feel like this is taking it to another level, but I try to separate that into things that I want to achieve and things that I have to achieve. Because humans, we automatically do the thing, we kind of procrastinate basically. So there are things that we have to do, but we'll always do something else. Whereas I think if you have written a list of all the things that you both want to do and have to do, you can do a few halves and then a want, and then a few more halves and then a want. And so you still get everything done. There are, like I said, people like my friend who would split their list into 4 different categories and stuff like that. But I think that for me really works. And just one list for the whole week feels achievable for me rather than a daily list.
Well, that actually is the best tip that I've heard, because all I ever hear people say is daily lists. And I can find that very overwhelming because so many things can go wrong in a day.
Absolutely.
And then once that's done one day and I've not ticked everything off the list, then I just think, oh, that didn't work for me, and I move on to something else. So a weekly list does sound like a much better use of time.
And if you can't achieve everything in one day, it's okay, because the list is still going to be there tomorrow. And like you said about, getting that call from school, and they need to come home and everything that you'd planned that day goes out the window. That, of course, happens, but you're giving yourself a little bit of flexibility. Yeah. I think that's just what works for me. What other tips would I have? I think knowing when you're most productive is also really helpful. Yeah. We were talking about not feeling like super productive first thing in the morning. Again, my husband is like such a morning person. He is out of bed and doing stuff first thing in the morning, and I take a little while to kind of come round. I feel like I want to light a candle and have a cup of coffee before I can like move on with my day. Whereas in the evening, especially when it's lighter in the summer, I feel really productive. I've still got loads and loads of energy in the evening, but he kind of hits that wall and is like, I think I'm done now. I can't do any more work. So I think understanding when you're most productive also helps you to plan that into your day. Yeah. So maybe when you're not feeling super productive, that's a really good time to go for a walk or do Pilates or whatever it is that you enjoy, or like cook something really, do something wholesome that's nice and gentle. And then when you're at your most productive, that's when you put all your kind of have-tos in. Yeah.
And I know you're a massive fan of nature and getting outside with nature. And I think that is something that's also so important with so many people who work from home now as well, that you can find yourself within 4 walls for a full day. Or people even in an office and maybe in their lunch break actually just deciding to just get out and walk. And not even for fitness, but it's actually just to clear the mind. And try and do that at least once a day. I find if I am not outside once a day for a good half hour, I can really feel it mentally. It really does clear my mind.
It's the best therapy. And it's free. There is actually this thing like green mind, they say, about how being in nature, like there's so many benefits to us and how we're lacking in it, like exactly like you said about us just being on screens all day. And then I suppose when you have that time when you could go for a walk, you maybe think, oh, this is my time to relax and do something else. But you never regret going for a walk. I think even if the weather is horrendous, as long as you have the right clothes,
that's what they say.
It's still amazing. Like walking in the rain is so cleansing. It's so refreshing. Messes up your hair, so you need to have...
That's the only problem.
You need to have like a good hood or a good hat, and it still feels so amazing.
As we were talking about earlier, there's such a juggle, especially as a businesswoman, a working mum, and family life and being something to everybody. How do you find that you balance all those things?
I think, I don't know, do you do this like this sort of pressure to be perfect thing? And I have really, probably like lots of other things, given into the idea that there is no such thing as perfect. But I do think it's good for us all. I don't think there's anything wrong with us all trying to be the best version of ourselves. So it's not about perfect at all, actually. It's like such a silly word, but more about, growing and being the best version of ourselves. across all areas of our life. And that sometimes can leave you feeling a little bit overwhelmed. It definitely leaves me sometimes feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Like if you're juggling balls, some of them will have to drop.
Yeah.
But we did talk a bit earlier about making time for yourself. I think there's not a waste of time.
No.
It's not, you shouldn't feel guilty for doing that, and you shouldn't let anybody ever make you feel guilty for needing your own time and space. And I think if we go back to like the work thing specifically, I think for so much of my working life, I gave way more than was necessary. I never switched my phone off. You know, I was always available. I was always working late. I was working early. I just didn't really have, I don't think I prioritized myself at all in any way other than I wanted everyone to think that I was really, really good at my job and that I took it seriously. And but now I understand that wouldn't be a good example to set somebody younger than me who's in the same world, the corporate world, that, you know, absolutely you should give everything that you have while you're there.
Yeah.
And then you need to switch off. Yeah. Then you need to finish and you need to move on to the other things that are important to you, like yourself and your children and your family and all of the things that nourish you and bring you joy. I think it's just accepting that you can't be all of those things to all of those people. And it's good to be on and be off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally guilty of that as well, because obviously I've run a couple of businesses and when you're self-employed, there really is no direct working hours.
No.
So there's days that I can be making a bouquet on a Sunday or replying to emails at 9:00 on a Monday evening.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a mother, it works well for me because I can also take out an hour during the day to pick up the boys from school.
Yeah.
But that switch off time in terms of when do I stop is always a very blurred line for me and something that I always try and do better with.
Yes, yeah, I totally relate. And I think it's the blessing of being self-employed and having flexible working, but also it's a little bit of a curse when you think I'm not really sure when I'm on and when I'm off. And I think most of us, if we're being really honest, we're on our phones too late at night, we're on our phones too early in the morning, we're replying to emails and all of that sort of stuff. And nobody's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. But I think it's just, being aware of it, I suppose, and never feeling guilty if you're like, I'm turning that off, I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. I'm going to deal with it next week because right now it's the weekend. And, you know, we were talking about feeling overwhelmed. And so I sometimes think I can get so into all of these other things. And I'm like, actually, I'm just going to go and lie in bed with the boys and read a book. And
phone away.
Yeah, it's like the best thing.
Yeah.
It's so nourishing and soothing.
Soak it up.
Yeah, soak it up. And then you're like,
they say those years go so quickly as well, and we really have to be so present. And
absolutely.
Talking about scrolling, I'm totally guilty of it, but it's one of those habits that I try to stop doing in the evenings before bed.
Yes.
Try and read a book. I've got a book at my bedside table that really forces me. I've got my phone to go onto like a silent mode to stop me from scrolling after 9:00.
Yeah, that's
Is
good.
there any habits that you're trying to break coming into 2024?
Yes. Yeah, this is always the habit that I'm trying to break.
Yeah.
This is like an ongoing, so many things I think, oh yeah, I do that now. So I go for a walk every day and I do Pilates and I drink more water and all of these sorts of things. I'm like, yes, I'm doing this, but this is the one thing that keeps rearing its head. But I love that now on lots of social channels, you can have like a quiet mode and you set it. So Instagram actually says to me at 9:00,
Me too.
yeah, time to stop, which is a good reminder. Even if you ignore it sometimes, it still reminds you that it's past your time. And I think waking up and having in the morning, another really bad habit was that I used to wake up and instantly reach for my phone and I would check my emails, check my messages. So I try not to do that now. We have those like morning bulbs, you know, I can't remember what they're called, but you wake up slowly basically. I think you can even get apps on your phone that do the same sort of thing.
Is that instead of an alarm or?
Yes, no alarm. Because I find waking up to a loud alarm makes me wake up in a bit of a panic. Yeah. Do you find that?
Yeah. But I still use the alarm. I did try to go to one of those alarms that had the light that changed, but I didn't think it was strong enough to wake me up, Lauren.
I love that. Well, you can actually, there's so many things. You can get like bulbs in your room where they automatically, like every single lamp in your room gradually gets lighter. So that maybe would wake you up. But either way, in the summer, it's so much easier because obviously we can just have the curtains open and have the natural light to come through. But it is harder at this time of year. So that's something that we do. And then I try not to reach for my phone. I really try to just have like go outside, make a coffee, all of that sort of stuff, cuddle with the children and my husband, and then get to the phone after.
And in terms of social commitments, one thing that I really try and do every year is to try and say no to a few more things, because I'm very much a yes girl.
Yes.
And I love to say yes to everything, even though it's maybe not what's best for me at that time and perhaps need that time to reset and relax.
Yes.
Do you find you're one of those people that tries to learn to say no a bit more, or how do you balance that? Because I know that things come in from all angles, especially when you're a working mum and with kids and wife and friend and relative and daughter. You can get pulled in a lot of different directions.
You can. And we're all, I think, trying to please everybody and be the best version of ourselves for everyone. But it's so true, that old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's so true, isn't it? And some things, like some social expectations, like fill your cup back up again. And there's definitely a time when you really can't wait to do that thing. Even if you're a little bit tired, you're like, I am going to this. It's going to be so much fun. But again, I think over the last few years, maybe it's age. I don't know. Maybe it's age. But I feel like I'm much more confident now at saying no. I see a lot of people say this thing where you just say no. You don't need to explain yourself. But I really do always still need to explain myself. But I think I feel much more confident in owning that, oh, I can't come tonight because I'm just really, really tired, or I really just need, when you need one of those nights where you can just stay in and relax. I hope it's okay. I would definitely do that and encourage my friends to do the same. Like if they were deciding that something wasn't for them that I had organized, I would encourage them to be like, do you know what, tonight's not the one. Or I think it's okay to say that and to kind of normalize. I think that word sometimes is a bit silly, but to normalize needing to relax and be at home and have an early night and all those things. They can fill your cup up so much more than forcing yourself to do something.
No, absolutely.
And paying for it the next day.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, isn't it? On our Sleepovers podcast, we're going to ask every guest what their unready routine is. Would you like to take us through it?
Yes. So maybe like a non-caffeinated tea to start. So like some kind of herbal tea or something like that would be really lovely. And then a bath, ideally, but also a shower. Like sometimes if I don't have time for a bath, I'm still happy with a shower. Take off all my makeup. I think that
There's no better feeling.
Isn't that?
I love doing my skincare in the evening.
It's such a treat.
I look forward to it sometimes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And sometimes I bring it forward. Do you do that? Like 5 o'clock, I'm taking all my makeup off and I'm going to put a face mask on, start the routine really early, but always go to bed with clean skin, moisturizer, serum, like the more the better. Layer it up. And that's it. I do really try not to look at my phone after 9 o'clock. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And reading a book or a magazine or anything that doesn't have a screen.
Do you keep books beside your bed?
I do.
Do you keep your phone beside your bed?
I do.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so it's good and bad. But I really love reading cookbooks.
Oh.
Which my friend thinks is really bizarre that I love reading cookbooks before going to bed. But I think I feel like that's a really good time to mark off recipes that I want to make.
Or Colin to make.
Yeah, that I want Colin to make.
Even better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I do have a stash of books next to my bed, and lots of cookbooks are always there as well.
Lovely.
Little stickers that I can put in. And then, that's it. Lights out.
It's been so lovely having this chat today. I wish we could talk on and on.
Me too.
But unfortunately, we're running out of time. Oh. But thank you so much for sharing everything with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. You did such a good job. Oh. And I can't wait to listen to the other episodes as well.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for listening to Sleepovers, a podcast brought to you by Novotel. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about taking time for our loved ones. Here is a quick preview.
So I've been here for 9 years now, and this is what I always say, is that it doesn't get easy, but we always try and have plans in place so we can see each other, because I do miss my family a lot. So I've got 3 kids, and my kids are really close to my family, and my family want to be involved in like everything that we do. So we always make sure to have plans in place of like when they come to see us, and I still want my kids as well to be really in touch with my culture, because obviously I feel like Brazil and England is like quite a lot of differences.
If you would like to watch more, check out our social media platforms at Novotel Hotels. See you next time.